Hey everybody, how we doing? Well, I told you this coming week we were going to talk about the electric fence setup. Set up 2 years ago. So where are we now after 2 years? A little bit of an update. So that's what we're going to do today. Let me go through this gate. Let's first talk about how I set up my electric fence 2 years ago. You see a lot of the woven fences that people put up temporarily. The temporary electric fences, you can move them around and you'll set them up one day, you leave your sheep for maybe a day or two, or goats, whatever you have, and then you move the fence. And that's not what I did. In my case, I decided to go with permanent electric fencing, something I did not have to move every day. Let's start out. Here's an overhead. All right, here's my pasture setup. 1, 2, and 3, that's the rams. The rams use those 3 pastures I rotate there. A, B, C, D, and on with the rest of them. You see the rest of them, there's 7 other pastures. That's what I use for the ewes. All right, so let's come back here. Right next to us is pasture A, so to speak. There's pasture A. That's the very first one I use for the ewes every spring. And the reason I do, that one's all woven wire. This is some old stuff, but most of it is all the goat and sheep 4-foot woven wire fence. I start that one because that's where the lambs go every year. The first time the lambs go out on pasture with moms, I have them here. They have all woven wire fence around them. Then the pasture I'm standing in now would be the first one the lambs would go into. And I'll show you here, that has an electric fence. And as you can see in my case, I'm not using the portable type fencing that people use. I'm using what they call the poly rope or poly string, whatever. They also have what you call the poly tape, which is the 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, inch wide white stuff. I do not use that. It's too windy here. Too much wind. Those things go flapping in the breeze and they don't last very long. So I do not use that. I use the poly rope. For the fencing unit, let's go over here real quick. My fencing unit is this one right here, American Farm Works, whatever the name, Tractor Supply. That's a Tractor Supply solar unit. I don't know, 140, 150 bucks, I think it was what it was when I got it. The big thing of these, as you can see, ground wire. I'm using 10 gauge ground wire, and I have down in the grass down there, I purchased a 8-foot copper ground rod like you'd use for your house or your barn when they're grounding everything. I cut that in half and pounded 2 of those in, 2 of them 4 foot deep all the way down. That's my ground. I think when I bought that unit, it suggested 3 ground rods. I've gone with 2. They have worked perfectly fine. I've got along just fine with 2. I do take that fencing unit every winter. I pull it, I bring it in the house, so I do not leave it out over the winter. One thing about those, and which may help you, those probably have lithium ion batteries. There's lithium ion, there's lithium iron phosphate, but all those type of batteries, those lithium types, you don't want to charge them when it's below 32 degrees, all right? I've been studying a lot of the lithium iron phosphate batteries lately, and they have to have a cold shutoff so they don't charge when it's below 32 degrees or 0, I guess, Celsius. These, I'm sure, do not have a shutoff. They're not going to have any of that type of stuff. So what happens is you can ruin a lithium battery if you try charging it when it's below 0. Well, these are all set up on solar. So if the sun is shining on the solar panel and there's a battery in there, it's going to try to charge a battery. Whether it's 70 degrees or whether it's 0, it's going to try to charge a battery. So I don't know if you can ruin the batteries in those by leaving them out over the winter, but I bring mine in. I was bringing them in anyway, and now that I know more about the lithium batteries, I definitely wouldn't want to leave one out over the winter with the solar panels on where it's trying to charge it up, because it will try to charge it I think that's going to damage it. Let's go back. We're going to go out and take a look and see the ewes. I'm going to go through the gate. My gates are just old corral panels that we had when we had horses. That's all I use for gates. That way they don't have to hinge. I can basically move them. To me, this is the kind of fence I wanted. I did not want to have to be moving fence every day. I didn't want to have to move every day or every other day. I have 7 pastures. Now 2 of them are here and they just have wire. They have no electricity. If we go back, let's go back to the map one again real quick. If it's in green, then that's electric. If it's yellow or red, then that is woven wire fence. And all of my perimeter is woven wire. There is no electric on the outside perimeter fence. I only use electric inside for cross fencing. All right. So the key is for me, by having my fences like this, I don't have to move them. Every day I just come out here, open a gate, send them to a different pasture. They were in that one 2 or 3 days ago. They just spent 2 days in this one. And now they're way out here. We'll get to them. They're way out here on the far side. They're in the far pasture. They're going to be there for about 2 days, I think. And then this will be the one they go to next. This one borders up against my daughter's where her goats are. And here comes everybody. Hi guys, girls. How's everybody doing, huh? Everybody out finding some good grass to eat? Yeah? Lambs are getting big. There's no doubt about it. They are growing. Sometimes it's hard to tell mom from babies in some of them anymore. They're getting that big. We will be weaning here just probably in a few days. We're going to wean. So we'll get everybody weaned. Look at this little guy right here. And that's his sister with the horns behind him. Yes. That one with horns back there, that's your sister. Got a home for those 2. There's a few ewe lambs in here yet, don't have homes, but you know what? If they don't, we're just going to keep them. Out here, so I can show you quick, I don't know if I've ever done this area back here. You can see all that grass area back in there. That is the rest of my ground. Some of that is mine, and then some off to the other side over there is my daughter's. That's our hay ground. We just baled that off about a week or so ago, and we ended up with 14 round bales, about 1,700 pounds each. So she takes half, I take half. I'll still probably buy a little bit of alfalfa. I like to feed that over the winter. But let's go back here and look at our fence again. All right, next thing I want to discuss, fence testers. And just found out there's a good reason why we should talk about this. This is called the Allosun EM555. I picked this up off of Amazon a couple years ago when I did this, and I have really liked this tester. It's done well. But it's good to keep them tested. And let me show you, I get a Y here. We'll get up. As you can see, I've got a reading of 4.9. Let's see if we can do what we do on the next one here. We'll get this one. And I'm still getting a 4.9 on that. Just a couple days ago I was out here. I was getting a 6.7 reading, all right? Which I thought was pretty good. It's been 2 years. I realized the battery is probably not as good, but there's my 4.9. Now it's real cloudy today. When I was here the other day doing the tested this the other day, it was 6.7. I think when I started, I was hitting about 8 or 9 is what I was getting on this deal. So it's gone down in 2 years. Whether that's the battery, not quite as good, possibility, I don't know. But this is the first time I'm sitting here now. That wire down, I'm to a 4.8. I'd have to say this is the first time I've seen them this low. Like I said, we started about 8 or 9. I've been usually getting about a 6.8, 6.9 is what I've been showing. That's what I showed just a few days ago. Now I'm only doing a 4.8. As I said, today it's cloudy. It's not sunny. Is my battery finally going on my charger after 2 years? I don't know. 4.8 will still give them something. You're still going to get a bit of a shock on that one. So they'll have something yet. And really, I'd have to say in 2 years, I've never had a problem. If you'll notice, this has 5 strands, all right? Where my other pastures just have 4. All right, the reason this has 5 strands is this was going to be the first pasture they went to with a hot wire, with lambs. So I knew those lambs would be little. I put extra down at the bottom. In 2 years, I have, first year, now admittingly, first year I started this in July of 2022, so there were no lambs out here then. They're just what I kept back. Everything had been weaned by the time I got this set up. But now in 2 springs, last spring and this spring, with lambs and this setup, I have never had a lamb on the wrong side of the fence that I know about. I'm not going to say it's never happened. It could have happened and the lamb got himself or him or herself back through again. But I have never had a situation where the lamb got on the other side of the hot wire and doesn't willing to come back to mom. So to me, they've done a really good job. The sheep have honored the fence, and even now today, I mean, that's sitting 4.8. We're going to try that again next time it's sunny. I want to see if we're starting to get to a position where my battery is starting to have problems. Is that a situation or not? I don't know. Said first time I've seen it that low. So from my initial thing, we're going to have to go way over to the other pasture because I got one other thing I want to show you. All right. One thing I want to bring up from 2 years ago that I've learned in the 2 years since I've had this fence up. And that is your connectors that you're using. And these are the steel post connectors I put on. If you can see, they're called lock jaws. I saw those, I thought, hey, let's try those. Those look pretty good. And I gotta admit, they're easy to put on. I really liked them for that. They went on nice and easy. They're a little more expensive than the other ones, but I started with them and they really went in nice, easy, put on, no problems. But 2 years later, update time. I have now found that post. They work real nice. This post is an old used post, and I hate to say it, I have a lot of old used posts on my fence line. And what I think will happen, they get loose here. They will loosen up on here. And I think what happened is the old post, if you get them too very old, well, I hate to say they were made better. They got more steel. They're a little thicker. And the lock jaws have had come loose. I've come out and basically it's hanging by the thread up and down the side somewhere. They loosen up and they come off. They will not snap in real tight on the old steel post. And I think it's just like I said, I think the steel is thicker, so they're not getting able to come around them good. The steel posts we get today are cheaper, not as good. So if I put them on this post, which is a newer post, no problem. But I can feel that is real thin on these sidewalls. And then I come down here and I come to this post, and I mean, it almost feels like it's twice as thick a steel. So while I like the lock jaws, I think they're great. They cost a little more, but I still think they're great. If you're going to use a lot of old used posts, they might not be the best thing for you, all right? One other thing, by using this fence, now I just noticed a little bit ago, we showed I wasn't getting quite as much charge. Like I said, the other day I was getting about a 6.7 to 6.9. I usually get that all the time. This is the first time I have not had it, so I'm interested to see why. But one thing I want to show you, look at that bottom line. Buried in the grass, right down there, in with all the grass, all the weeds. I do not cut it. I don't do anything to it. So all these lines basically are all the same. They all got grass growing up in them. And yet, that fencer has been able to keep up with a nice, solid charge the whole time over the last 2 years. Minus today when it was a little low. We're gonna have to see if that was sunshine or what that is. It has been, had a lot of clouds lately, so maybe that has something to do with it. To me, that would tell me the battery is getting a little weak. So we'll have to see. It's been 2 years. So, but compared to the netting stuff, as you can see, there's all kinds of grass growing up in there, and it's still giving me the charge. So there's the girls again. They will be in that pasture probably, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 days. They might be able to stay in there 2 or 3 days. We're getting to the time. Today it's not so bad. About the next 2 or 3 days, we're gonna go back in the 90s and spend some time in the 90s. We have spent some time in the 90s. And as you can see, I don't have a lot of trees. There's not a lot of shade. So once we get up to there, they're gonna be out here in the morning, and they'll graze pretty good in the morning, but usually they will not spend, they're gonna spend the afternoon back in the barn under the shade. And that's fine. I throw them a little grass hay every night. Seems the lambs really like the grass hay, so I figured, hey, they can always use a little more hay, and I don't have any problem giving them a little bit of that. I have plenty. So otherwise, that is it for my 2-year update. I'd have to say I'm happy with the way it's been set up. I like the permanent fencing. All I do is come up to one of my busted up corral panels and pull her back and shut it up, and that's it. That's all I've got to do. I don't have to move fence every day. I don't want to move fence every day. This has got me a lot of cross fencing, and it didn't cost me a lot of money. We'll get down the line. As far as I'm concerned though, we could be, like I said, maybe we're getting down towards the end on the battery on that after 2 years. That's very possible. We'll have to see about a new battery. We'll have to see. But for now, my update is the fences have been doing well the way they are. I love this situation. I'm glad I did it this way. I don't want to move fences every day. It's not something I want to do. So I am real happy with the way things have come out as far as that is concerned anyway. All right, now we're done. Probably in the next few days, we're going to wean. So maybe we're back next week after we've weaned. If not, I'll see you in 2 weeks.